city science application framework. The idea was to help the cities utilize a framework for them to implement city science in their own contexts. That was the main objective of this deliverable, actually. Today, cities are faced with so many challenges. Urbanization has so many issues which presses cities in the future and also currently. So this deliverable essentially aims to address and solve these urban challenges and problems by especially using data extensively. So data is like almost the raw material, and using scientific techniques and methods, science and technology innovation, as an engine almost that uses data as a raw material and then solves the urban problem. So we are trying to model the urban problems in this deliverable in a physical context, in an urban context. We model them, we solve the model, and then we apply it again to the problems in the urban context. So that's the approach that we have taken. And as I mentioned in the previous slides, we don't want to use just obvious visualizations, simple things, but go a bit beyond that, because our problems today, especially in cities, are becoming very complex problems. And they require also sophisticated models in general. So we need to go beyond maybe the obvious techniques. We can use things like optimization, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these with the real data from the cities. So that was the main concept. And the framework consists of 4 steps again. It looks at where the city is in terms of city science in general. So it has a baseline of the current status, which is the first step. And then it looks at and determines, based on the city's own challenges, it prioritizes and determines what kind of actions the city will take to implement city science, which is step number 2. And then step number 3 uses, again, certain enablers, levers to implement city science. So to boost it, to make it grow and help cities solve its own problems. And the 4th step, finally, is the assessment. So, okay, we have implemented certain solutions, we are at a certain stage, we use certain levers, enablers, but where have we reached? So we go back and understand the lessons learned, which tools and techniques were actually effective, efficient in terms of addressing the urban problems, and also which enablers especially have been effective. So that's very important, because sometimes we have a list of enablers. For example, we issue regulations, we issue policies, we issue standards, but not all of them are necessarily effective in every urban problem. So step number 4 goes back, sits back, and says which one of those enablers that we thought would be effective have really been effective in reality. So we kind of assess at the end our city science application and its impact on the city. And it's a circular approach. We can go back to step number 1, again, do the assessment and apply the steps. So that's essentially the city science application framework. Now, in terms of enablers, again, we came up with a long list of enablers that cities can use. First of all, when we say city science, certain cities are not even aware of it. There is no awareness. They don't even know what it means. So raising awareness and knowledge also in the cities will be important. Beyond that, the stakeholders need to be engaged. We have these urban challenges, problems, but the stakeholders are not necessarily aware of it, or they are not engaged and they don't participate in innovation, for example, in smart city and sustainable city projects. So that's number 2. And then policies and strategies is number 3. We put them together. It essentially, it gives a direction to the city in terms of what it wants to do. So strategies kind of unify the efforts together and gives us a single vision moving forward. So that's another enabler that the city can use for city science. And then the R&D programs and skills are 2 other important enablers. Especially R&D is important because when we talk about these sophisticated solutions, new technologies, frontier technologies, and mathematical models, R&D becomes very important. The knowledge base will be essential if we want to boost city science in general in urban contexts. And skills are also important. So we might have training programs, we might have engagements with academia at the local level, national level, and also international level. So these are, again, levers that the cities can use. And then certain incentives can also be applied. We might have awards for it, competitions, hackathons, several initiatives can be launched to, again, incentivize city science in the urban context. Entrepreneurship and startup is important because these are really sophisticated skills. They don't necessarily reside in every organization, in large organizations. So we rely on entrepreneurs coming up with ideas, startups that implement these solutions for cities. And then we have public-private partnerships, cross-city initiatives. These are all potential things that the cities can do. They can have bilateral relationships to boost city science, and these are, by the way, happening actually in the world right now. Cities forming partnerships in certain areas, in certain topics for their own urban problems. And financial incentives as well. If the cities want, they can incentivize startups, certain companies in terms of tax breaks, tax reductions, to boost, again, city science in their own context. So this is, again, a portfolio of almost options, a toolkit that's available to cities. They don't have to do all of these. They can identify their own status and apply one or more of these enablers in their own context. Having said that, I'm just going to go through 4 case studies. In the deliverable, we have the main one, which is the framework itself, but we also came up with 8 cases from different cities. So I will just highlight 4 cases here quickly, and they are all available in the website. The first one is about safety and security. It's about predicting crime in a city, and it's for Rio de Janeiro, actually. And it's being done in reality. One of the things that I faced, actually, in this deliverable is through the contacts that we have, through the group, the members, when we ask, have you really implemented a solution? Or are you in a POC stage, for example, proof of concept, simple use case? Usually, the full implementations are not available globally. I'm just being very honest here. This is the issue that we faced. Those solutions that are available, they don't necessarily use sophisticated models that I was talking about, or data is not available. So this is something that I have discovered as a practical issue. So we really had to go deeper to cases where data was available, there was extensive data at the city level, and solutions were also available. So this is actually quite interesting. It's been an observation from my side. So in this one, the city has collected from the city police and also Institute for Public Safety all the crime data, historical crime data, and it's a simple mobile app and an electronic system which shows you at the city level in a map where the crime has happened. So literally you click on, like on a Google map, the city map, you click on a point, it gives you a probability at that point in time. Today, for example, 11 a.m., what's the probability of having a crime incident at that point? By using historical data. So they use lots of AI and machine learning techniques based on historical data. It's actually quite interesting. And it's a mobile app, not only for the policemen, but also for citizens and tourists as well visiting the city. So it helps them to identify what are hotspots for crime in general. Again, this is what they have done. We can argue it may not be appropriate for every city, but this is a simple mobile app that's been applied using these sophisticated tools and techniques. Also for police, it's been quite effective because they can save costs in terms of patrolling the city in general. So it's also created operational efficiencies for the public sector in general. The second one is what we have done in Dubai, actually. It's a city concierge. Our vision in Dubai is to become the happiest city on earth. But that also entails having, happy city experiences for us. So city experiences, people sometimes don't know how to do certain things in the city, how they can, for tourists, for example, or even for the residents, how can I pay my bills, how can I open a company? They have a lot of questions about the issues in the city. So we have created this cognitive system. It's a chatbot, you can say. You literally ask questions in natural language, and it answers your inquiries. We started actually piloting this for entrepreneurs who wanted to start up their own businesses. That was the proof of concept for us. Now we have extended to all the topics in the city. And next year in Expo, which will be held in Dubai 2020, all the visitors will be using this system because they will have no idea about what to do or how to do things in Dubai. So we will provide this as a almost self-assistant for them, as a digital city concierge. So the entrepreneurs, and it was actually quite successful. Immediately we had a big usage coming from the startups, the entrepreneurs, as to how they can start their own business. So it saved lots of calls, as you can imagine, behind the scenes for us, because they always ask the same questions. What are the documents required? Where should I go? Which entity? Blah, blah. And it depends on the business type. So we have come up with this almost nice approach of answering their inquiries. But now you can ask anything almost in the city, because we have more than 200 topics at the moment. Only one of them is starting a business. So living in Dubai, commuting in Dubai, all these things are now available in the application. And the data, again, data was important. It's all about collecting data from different entities about these issues. The FAQs, you can say, frequently asked questions, but there's a lot of data behind it. You have to train the system. And we also we look at questions that people ask us, which we don't have answers for. So you have to look at it from both ways. From the government entities, we collect answers, but people still ask questions that we don't have answers for. So we have to bridge that gap between the two. Last two cases, and then I will stop, Christina, I promise. Yeah, it's a deliverable, but I know I'm taking quite a bit of time. The third case study is from Queensland, Australia, Logan City. This is the biggest shopping mall that they have. And as we know, climate change is a major issue today. Greenhouse gas emissions is in everybody's agenda. So this case study pertains to reducing energy usage in the mall itself, and in turn also reducing carbon dioxide emissions. And it uses a lot of data, actually. It links the system that's implemented, links to the building management system of the entire mall. They have, for example, 7 chiller plants for the entire complex itself, and a bunch of other things also for energy. So the system hooks up, collects through IoT systems, sensors, lots of data that is pertaining to the energy usage. And it collects every, for example, 15 minutes, utilization, occupancy rates, temperature, humidity, and operates the system almost by using AI and machine learning, tries to reduce the energy consumption. So they've used the system for almost a year, and at the end of first year, they saved about 12.9%, if I'm not mistaken, roughly 13% energy was saved, which directly translates to 13% greenhouse gas emissions, in fact, which is quite a bit. And they also reduced the peak load 8% by using these techniques. And they saved, as I mentioned, about $300,000, I think, in the first year in the operations. So if you think about it, there's an economic impact in terms of cost savings, there's an environmental impact in terms of energy savings, and also greenhouse gas emissions. And again, it's not easy to find these cases. There are a lot of places where these things are being tried right now. But this is one where things are really implemented, up and running, and they had the real data from the city, from the shopping mall itself. And this actually applied a social pressure as well, from a social impact perspective, to other organizations and businesses in the city. Now they are trying to do the same by reducing their peak load and also energy savings. There's actually a story behind it, and it's in the case study. For those of you who are interested, you can look at it. So it's quite interesting, achieving real results. And the last one that I want to talk about is the case study about fine dust filtration, air quality improvement in the city of Stuttgart. There were certain legislations in Germany. Again, I'm not going to go through the details, but there was a push from the government and also from NGOs to reduce the air pollution in the city itself. So the city has taken actions, and it has implemented these filter cubes, as they call them, which clean the air dust, fine particles, the particulate matter in the city. The interesting thing is there's a lot of data, again, behind it. And they use quite a few models. They take, first what they do is they model the air in general, the air quality through sensors, and they also look at temperature, humidity, and a few other things about the air. And then based on that data, which is external, they try and operate the fans of the dust, the filter cubes themselves. So it has two models almost. One is modeling the external factors, and the second one is modeling the internal system, the filter cubes themselves, and the fans in them to operate it, because we also want to achieve efficiency. We don't want to also waste energy while cleaning the air. So it tries to strike a balance between the two. And at the end, they saved, in the high traffic junctions, 40% of the nitrogen dioxide, for example, of the greenhouse gas emissions. By the way, as you know, greenhouse gas is not just carbon dioxide. Greenhouse gas also includes other poisonous materials like nitrogen dioxide, methanite, and all of those. So this case study pertains to these others, not necessarily just carbon dioxide. And in a normal location, they saved about 80% actually in terms of air quality. So the city was happy, people were happy. It was a cost-effective approach. But the interesting thing is it's using these frontier technologies that we talk about. It uses IoT, it uses AI, and collects real-time data and also acts real-time on the spot in the city. We have 4 more case studies that I'm not going to go through right now because of time especially. They are all up in the website. And they all utilize real data from real cities to solve their real problems. Thank you so much.